Good evening, everybody. How we doing? Welcome to the stream for tonight. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. Nobody's working too hard, hopefully. So, tonight, we're going to look at something that I was talking about a few weeks ago. As in, I want to do some additions to my tail module. Fake Pivot, welcome. How you doing, bud? Actually, the best thing might just be to initially show what's going on. So I've been working on this fundamental character rig for a bit, just in the background. As I've been fairly busy with work and haven't had much time to focus on stuff outside of that. So we're keeping things simple. And by keeping things simple, I mean I'm kind of porting over a bunch of my modules to rename a whole bunch of things and trying to make sure that doesn't break and things. So, you know, it's all relative. But an aspect of the tail rig that I want to add in is the addition of some sort of like end of tail options. The problem right now with this setup is it works pretty good, but when you get to like shaping the end of the tail, you don't have a lot of finite control, because generally, like, as you go with tails, like this sort of, they get a little bit more, what do you call it, like prehensile or whatever, like the ability to sort of like manipulate it gets a little more specific towards the end. So we'd probably want a few additional controls in this area here to sort of like tuck it in that little extra bit. We can't really get that, at least not very easily, with the existing control structure. And I don't currently have a way to really accommodate that in this setup right now. I've got some options for like determining the amount of controls down it, as well as some general things like aim of the joints and the controls and things. But in terms of the end, we don't really have anything really set up in enough detail to do that. So I need to go into this, the script, into the module file and have a bit of a play around with that. The way these things generally work is I'll set up like a bunch of reference transforms. So in the case of a tail, because it's already like from a bunch of joints, let's see if I turn on the joints here, we can probably see. We've got like a big joint chain running down the center there. So the way we build, or the way I build my tail modules, is I'll sort of create like a reference curve down it. From that reference curve, I'll create a bunch of reference transforms, which sort of dictate this is where the controls are going to go, things like that. So we just need to add in some additional ones down the end and make sure they sort of like fit into the control structure a little bit. What I was going to do as well is I can actually break down how this tail rig functions a little bit. I was going to do some drawing magic, because I don't really like break down things a whole lot in these streams. So I'm just pulling out my tablet now. I'm going to go over into Photoshop, because I need to get like a program or something that allows me to just like draw over the top of things, or just like have like a scratch pad of things to do. But let's see, can I draw not with a white pen at least? Is that not working at all? Let's see, what do we got? Man, this is what I get for not using Photoshop in a really long time. There we go. Not sure why that wasn't working. Cool. So, with the tail rig, so say we've got a bunch of joints. So this is like a joint chain. So from this, like I said, we generally, or the way I'll do it is I'll generate a curve down the whole thing, and we specify sort of points down it that we want to use to sort of control a curve, which is then in turn going to control those joints. So the few things that we need. The control structure is actually fairly simplistic. We'll have like a root control, and then you'll have sort of like additional controls down here, and underneath those you'll have sort of like an offset control as well. So if you imagine this is sort of like, these are FK, FK controls, but also can sort of move in IK. So if you move this one is going to sort of move after it, this one is going to move after that one, etc, etc. These ones sort of function as an offset, so you can pull this one around, but the controls after it in the hierarchy aren't going to follow around. So this is like really easy to set up in just like a hierarchical sense in Maya, where you can have sort of like a control and another control and another control. If we sort of think of these ones as the FKs, if you sort of like have underneath these ones, but not influencing the next one, so like underneath you have the control for the IK, the control for the IK there. So these are the ones that actually will drive the curve as opposed to the FK. So they sort of like sit nestled underneath. So they'll always inherit like what's above on the FK that's driving it, but you can then offset them independently from that as well if you just need to make those like minor adjustments. The nice thing about Maya's curves as well, which some people don't really know about, is they can be driven by locators. They can be the world position of the locator's shape can actually drive curves. So you can have like a really simplistic locator layout, and each of the CVs on the curve, that's what's those locators are going to drive them. So we can actually do that in Maya, kind of like demo that very, very quickly if I open up a new file. In fact, let me just put that over here for now because I don't really need to use it. So let's just create a few locators. And we can create a curve as well. So having built that curve, if we go into control vertex mode, actually this is going to be way too many. Let's cut down 1, 2, 3. Is that going to be? How do I want to build it? Which one did I use? Did I use edit point? Okay, 5 will be fine. So we can do this by going into the node editor. That might be the easiest way to sort of demo it. So let's grab all of these and we can graph them. So we need to find the curve shape and we need to get all the locator shapes. 5 and 3, 4, 5. So let's get them in order because it'll be quite important. So this is a really bare bones way of like driving the curve. So if we open up this shape, we should see some options here for control points. And when we open this up, we'll see that we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means we've got 5 points in total, which we can confirm by going into the control vertex mode. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So we'll use these locators to drive those control points. So if you open up the control shape, there's going to be this option in here, world position. So this basically tracks the shape's world position, just I think through matrices or whatnot. So we can just simply pull that one and attach it to control point 0. And you'll see now that that control point has snapped that locator. And if we move that locator around, it's now driving that curve. So we can easily do that for the rest of these bad boys. World position. Let's just make sure it's actually the proper one. World position. So it just takes, you can specify individual values if you need as well, but because we just use all of the translation. World position, not world matrix. Hey Stephen, welcome. And world position for this last one. It's a little bit slow going when you're using the node editor. So I've got stuff to script this all out, but we should see now. If we grab all these locators they are now going to drive the curve. Like so. So wherever those locators are going to go, those control points are going to be directly on top of them. In fact, you can, yeah, I think in one of the modes, is that the edit point mode? Can't remember how I get to that. But essentially, if like you had a shape, a curve shape, but you had it as like one linear, like that's a really good way. Like you can sort of imagine like where all those control points would be just in space, and like because this is a 3-degree curve, it's just going to like interpolate between those points. So you can sort of see the benefits of that. What's the advantage of using this over clusters? So clusters are a deformer fake pivot. So like one advantage, I guess, I mean, it's sort of an advantage, I suppose, is like one thing I've dealt with very recently is having to do backwards compatible stuff between Maya 2022 and Maya 2020. So there was actually an update between those two versions, which changed how deformers work. So now, if you were to open a 2022 rig in Maya 2020, all the deformers break because it doesn't know how to process the new way of like those deformers being built. Everything else will work for the most part, but like deformers themselves, like just flat out stop. So because clusters are actively deforming the curve instead, that's one aspect to it. You may lose it between versions if those things change. The other thing is it's a much more lighter way of doing it. Much fewer nodes are involved, because the same thing, like you'd still need to, you pretty much want to cluster every single CV or whatever, and then you drive those clusters through it. So it just sort of like eliminates the step of having to have a deformer influence this thing. Now, based on that, like you may get a little less control over things, like because like if you select multiple control points, you know, you can like cluster them in a way you want and sort of drive those. So this requires maybe a little bit more thinking about like how you want to nest certain things. Like if you wanted locator 1 to drive both of those points, making sure they're parented the right way or constrained in the right way, things like that. This is actually somewhat important in my tail rig. Let me go into, let's just, actually before we build it again, let's get rid of the node editor, because that's just going to make things build slower, if that's up. Because one thing, you can sort of see how this works as well, based on that, how we set that up prior. As in, like, I'm moving these around, and you can sort of, like, imagine the curve running through it. So as I'm posing these, we're just getting a curve running through. It's trying to hit all these control points, and the joints just flow along that. In fact, if we unhide the private layer, you can see in here that we've got the curve going through, which is being driven by all these points. The other thing is we do, I believe, under my secondary layer, like one thing is because these are controlling control points, through like the more like the older style curves, it's less precise. Like the curves do not technically go through those points. They just sort of like use them as like interpolation. Like there's a specific way of building it through mathematics or whatever that, you know, I couldn't I couldn't tell you what it is exactly, but like it does that for a reason. And because of that, you maybe don't get the specificity you need sometimes. Like one of the things is I always include a root tangency control, just so I can sort of like have a bit more control over the weighting towards like the base of a tail, or, you know, this doesn't necessarily have to be for a tail. It could be for something like, you know, a tentacle or a vine or things like that. It's basically a way of driving a curve, which then drives joints on that curve kind of thing. I think like there's, is it the Bezier curve it's called? Bezier curve tool. I think this one kind of functions a little bit differently. Well, like if you create a curve like this one kind of like, if we were to have things go down this, you know, like you're moving these points around, the curve literally always goes through those points. But instead, you sort of have to control these tangencies. This is always something I wanted to play around with a little bit. Like, I think it's just one of those things, like these things come up in a certain version of Maya. Tools have already been set up for tails, and nobody really like changes them over. Like I've used this tail setup at a few studios. I've seen it used in like auto riggers and things like that, so it's, you know, not an uncommon one to use, but I don't think a lot of Bezier curves have really been used. I'm not totally sure why. I've never tested like the speed of them. I'm not sure if it's slower to use potentially. But it's always something I've been interested in, because like sort of inherently like not having the curve hit these points is a little weird. But then at the same point, you're like, you know, it's maybe a little bit easier because you're only worried about one point to sort of shape things rather than just like worrying about these additional tangency handles at the same time. Like, I guess you can rotate potentially. Could you scale as well? Yeah, that's got some interesting applications actually. That might be worth having a look into at some point. But anyway, as I was saying prior, what we want to do is look at adding some additional controls towards the end, so some additional points in here. I'm wondering if I might not even want to add these as like control point drivers. They may just want to be like additional controls nested under this structure. Because I have a feeling if I add additional control points in here, it's going to sort of like ruin the general curve of things. So I may just want to have them like sit inside the control hierarchy, but not actually influence the points exactly. It'll just sort of be like having you know, a few additional locators, like 1, 2, 3. Parent those all underneath, so this one can influence that. So you can just have a bit more precise control in the curvature of everything. In fact, we even probably want to set the stretch down. Yeah, because with this now, we can sort of get a much more curled ending to things. So I think that will be quite useful in this case here. So it'd be good to specify like, okay, how many controls do I want down the span of the tail? I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want 3 like tip controls or something like that as well. Do you plan to sell or share your rig via Gumroad or something? Yes, Fake Pivot, that is...
Symptoms you describe point to bonus eruptus. It's a terrible disorder where
the skeleton tries to leap out the mouth and escape the body.
No, you're talking.
Thank you very much, Reese Comics, for the subscribe. Thank you for supporting the stream. If you're not already in our Discord, let me just pop that in chat there. If you join up the Discord, I'll be able to give you access to our special Discord channel for everyone who's subscribed to the channel. So you can get some special stuff in there that has been posted prior. Been a bit slack on it recently, honestly, just to how much I've been working outside of streams and things. But I do want to eventually upload more things on there. We put the Squill Rig on Discord as well. So I am planning on uploading these to the net at some point as like free rigs. Yeah, slowly chipping away at things each week. The 2 things that I've encountered in this rig that I want to fix is this additional tail controls at the end of this tail rig. And the other one was the non-uniform scaling joints, and just testing those in Unreal before handing the rig out. Because if you squash this down and everything, I believe right now, do they not? Yeah, you see the eyes aren't really scaling correctly, and this is because we've got non-uniform scale on the joint, which is the parent of them. So I just need to do some tests to do with non-uniform scale and removing them from a hierarchy and just making sure that works in a game engine before handing over. It's like I can make it work like in Maya fine, but I just want to make sure this dude can export to game engines as well, just in case. Howdy, Studio God told me about the channel and told me to use Amazon Prime because otherwise Bezos gets it. Well, thank you very much, Reese. I appreciate it. Are you a rigger? Have you been in this stream before? I can't recall. Bezos always wins in the end. He's got a monopoly. On occasion, yeah. Well, if you're usually quiet. No, feel free to like pipe up and ask questions if you want any point in time. I'm always happy to answer. Yeah, so I guess the best thing for this now would just be go in there and to structure this stuff. So let's actually look at my tail module. So we'll pop into here. We've got the tail. Yeah, so after I've got these things sorted out, like I do just want to upload these online. I've got this guy. I've got like a bipedal two-legged character. There was a model I was working on with like wings. I wanted to do like a wing thing as well. I said like just a standard humanoid biped would be cool at some point. I need to like ask people for some models. The crab dude at some point. I was talking to Scott about that recently, about uploading that. So just probably like a work in progress version, because like the skinning is just gonna, you know, that's gonna be my sort of like thing that I'm always gonna want to improve. I think I just gotta release it at some point. I actually have work starting soon. Morning meetings will return, depending on how long ago. So yeah, thank you very much for the sub, man, and appreciate you dropping by. If you can come back, great. But if not, thank you very much for joining. So that's the body. So let's take a look at tail module. So we've got some basic stuff in here. Curve reference joints, the control scale and everything. Number of controls. Number of twist joints, that's important as well. Do lock. Control aim vector, control up vector, and up curve vector. Those need to be separate. So we've got some stuff driving it. Tail curve layer. That's where all of this is sort of built from. Reference point on curves. Because I basically got to figure out how this is structured. And when I build everything. So the way it seems to go is I build two curves. I create a up curve, a base curve, and an up curve. I build points along those curves, and that's what I use to create sort of the references for where these controls are going to be. Then I build the manipulators and controls from those. So I basically need to find a way of just adding in or slotting in like additional controls in between the second last and last controls, which I can toggle on and off as well. So let's maybe take a look at how to do that. Chain manipulator. Because this is probably done a while ago as well, so I need to just refamiliarize myself with this code. So we're probably gonna do like what do we call this? Like tip reference transforms. So probably want to add in number of controls, number of tip controls. Let's do that as like 3 for the time being. This should pull in, the inheritance should be fine. How do we want to call these? I mean, these can just be called whatever. So let's just build these. So we can call this like tip ref. Actually, we can just call it something like tip I ref for x in, for I in range 0 to number of tip controls. Is that going to update? Yeah, that's all good. And from that, we can build in here. So, build tip controls. So if there is, so we can specify like the number of tip controls. If we say it's like none, then we don't build them. If there is some, then it's going to build them. So we can do these testing. So pop that there. And how am I? I'm just building these for ref in self tip control. Tip transforms. Actually, let's specify that a bit better. So core nodes, transform. So this is my way of building transforms a bit more specifically, but you could do it like through just space locator, standard my commands. But I can just pop that in there. And do I want to? I guess the reference transform is going to be self-reference points on curve module, base transforms, so it's not going to be the last one, but the second last one. So what this should do is it should build now. Well, actually, let's make sure we put this into the other tail module as well. +3. And that's under controls. Just pop that in there. And the controls bit. Easy peasy. So this will just quickly build through. We're just doing a error after the tip controls are built, and we can sort of see. We can have a closer look at the reference controls, or the reference transforms, how they're being built, and how we can use them. Great. So let's hide all of the polygons. So we should see. Actually, we can even hide the joints as well. So if we've specified in the script like all of these joints, that's what the curve is going to be built from. So if I hide those joints, we've built a number of transforms along the curve, including this reference root. Is that the tangency? Yeah, that's the tangency control. And the tip reference joints that we just made, yes, so they're not being, oh boy. It's kind of hard to see these actually. You might not be able to see them. Hold on. Let's make them a little bit bigger. Way bigger. Yeah, so we've got all of these over the top here. So honestly, all we need to really do is distribute them between this point and that point. So we sort of want that to be like, if we were to point constrain them, this would be like 25%, this would be 50-50, that'd be 25-75 to the end. So we need to do a way of quickly laying those out as well. Welcome, welcome, Marion. How you doing? How you doing? Hope your week's going okay so far. So how do I want to do this? So we probably want to get, we can specify a bunch of U values. Do I have motion path load? Get uniform U values, and the number of transforms is going to be number of tip controls plus 2. And then we only use from 1 to -2. I think that'll give us U values that we want. Oops. Gotta remember to take down Photoshop before I keep accidentally opening anything up. Let's see, we're getting the U values I want. 20. Oh yeah, no, sorry. We do want that to be just one more time. Yes, so 25, 05, and 75, we can use these to specify the weights in between. So I have a script here, which I call get uniform U values. So that'll just find uniform values between 0 and 1. So I normally use these for things like motion paths if I want to evenly distribute transforms along a motion path or things like that. But in this case, we can use those values to influence really rough point constraints, so we can distribute stuff in between two transforms as well. So like, yeah, if I say, you know, there's going to be, I want you to get uniform U values with 5 values, then it's going to evenly find it between them. So it'll be like 0, 25, 0.5, 75, and 1. And we can use that to sort of structure stuff. So with that, for I, let's go U value in enumerate values. Go commands. Call this is going to be temp, so I can go point constraint. We want it to be between the second last transform and the last transform, and then actually we can go reference transform equals tip reference transforms I. So we pop that in here. And from that, we want to go, how do you find, oh God. What's the quick way of returning the weight aliases? Oh, I'm probably gonna have to, no, it's not in here. Weight aliases, let's grab that. Ah. Oh, so yeah, you actually query the actual constraint command. So let's actually get the point constraint there. Query weight alias list, or is that going to be right? Let's print that as well. We can just error there. Yes, cool. So is it the full? No, that'll just be the, yes, okay, cool. So what that does is it allows us to get those weights that are built on the parent constraint when we constrain it to two things. So if that like alias, that's what's, this is what's referred to, like this attribute that's created is referred to as the weight alias. It's a quick way of quickly bringing those up. I'm actually sort of like restructuring my constraint scripts at the moment to do this, like, so I can set this all sort of like in a dictionary rather than having to do this through separate code. It's not quite there yet, but yeah, definitely something I'm working towards. So what we can do then, so we've got the U value, which is, we want to get the inverse U value, which is going to be 1, take the U value. So it'll start off 25, so the inverse U value will be 75. So that means we can then go command set attr. We can set that to university value. Set the second one to just the standard U value. So the first one, and then the second way alias, and we do it on top of, it's the parent constraint, right? Yes, or the point constraint. So now, wow, my computer is running. Is it because I got Photoshop? I'm just going to quit out of Photoshop in the background. That's probably causing my computer to fry. Yes, I think it was. And if we run this now, it's going to error out. After that should all be nice and distributed. Hopefully. Hide the polygons, hide the joints, and boom. Evenly distributed from this one to that one. 75-25, 50-50, and the last one, 25-75. Excellent. I'm wondering, ooh, I mean, I probably can't get away with that if the curve is not straight, which is why I built everything on, I think for the time being, I'm okay with this. And I might worry about doing it along a curve. Because why did I set this up for being not along a straight curve? I think I maybe on like the T-Rex or something, the joints for the tail are not completely straight because obviously like with a tail, it's not just going to be flat, even though that would be ideal for rigging. It's going to have like a sort of like gradual slope down and then like flowing through the end. Yeah, I think this is probably okay for now, but this is something I might have to restructure at a point in the future. But anyway, let's just get like the core functionality in there first, and we can worry about that afterwards. Okay, so we built the references. So we got these now. Self. What do we want to call these? All tip manipulator modules. If self number of tip controls for I in range of 0 to number of those controls. Let's build some modules so we can build some manipulators from them. Yeah, it's been a while since I've worked on this tile module because all my naming conventions are out of whack on this. So let's call that, that's the manipulator dictionary that we feed into the module, and then we append that module to the tip manipulator module so we can build those later on in our script. Fantastic. How's everyone doing, by the way? How's everyone's week gone so far? Everyone been working? It's been a hard start to the week. I'm not using my Simpsons mug tonight. I'm on my NPC mug. Where is it? Can you even see it? Yeah, there we go. But this one sucks as well. Like, it's a really small mug, and it has like, it doesn't like dissipate heat. Like if you touch it, it's hot. My other one like is really good at like the handle staying cool. This one just sucks for that, so I don't know why I'm using it. Only one that was clean, I suppose. Okay, so the manipulator name. What do we want to call this? Let's build it for the layer. So this is going to go under all. So this will be like tip I think. Manipulate home. What does the MPC stand for on the cup? That is the Moving Picture Company. So that is the company that I used to work for from 2016 to 2019 before I moved back to Australia. I've got, yeah, like this mug and 2 Simpsons mugs, and I think that's about it. Quite tranquil, working on body rigs and just skinning while listening to my knowledge. How is the skinning going, Manning? Are you using NG or is it just vanilla? Let's get this. Where is the tip reference transforms? Let's pop that in and we can specify which one it is. And the parent space transform. What do we want this to be? This we do need to specify actually. Variable. So we want the parent if we want this to be self chain manipulator modules -2 manipulator transform if I equals 0, else it's going to be all tip manipulator modules I tip 1. I think that should make it work. Previous, okay. If self tip, number of tip controls for module in self module build, and we can error after this. Make sure that all works. Yes, because I will need to change the parent of that one, actually. If that's the case. The last one. No object chain control module. What did I do wrong? Oh shit, no, it needs to be manipulator module, not, that needs to be manipulator transform. In fact, we can do this over 2 just to make it, if I is greater than 0, parent equals, that way it doesn't go past the, what do you call this thing? I mean, it's already, the string's already going past that. The line's getting long there. We just want to make sure it's legible. Oh, using NG as always, it's something. It's a heavy character. There's always a lot of pushing around to make them nice. It's good they actually have the time to spend on the skin clusters as well. Sometimes it's just like, oh, it's always such a rush thing, you know. It's like, oh, if we just have, you know, a few days just to really buff it out, make it look nice. Yeah, I think generally when there's like a tendency to automate the skinning a bit more through like reuse of previous assets or whatever, it's just like get it out, get it out, get it out. But sometimes they can do with a bit of polish. All right, so let's see if that fixed that. I think it might have. Yes, it did. God, these are tiny. Why are they so small? So think that drives, yes. That one drives that one, drives that one. So we just need to make sure that this second to last one, the FK drives that. And we'll also need to update it so the last one is driven by that last tip control instead. Yes, it's also my first character with them, so it's a lot of finding out how the systems are pushing around and working, so they give me more time to work in it. It's nice. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I found that's like one thing with riggers is it's skin, like painting skin weights can be very sort of like relaxing and therapeutic sometimes. Like, I really like just popping on some music, you know, relaxing and just painting weights for a few hours. It's always like, I think there's normally like a distinction. There's like riggers who like to do skinning and there's riggers who like to do correctives. It might be more like, you know, maybe it's more film riggers who like to do correctives because they might not be as utilized in games as much. But I don't like, sculpting to me isn't as relaxing as skinning, I suppose. Because one of my friends, she loves doing like character muscle simulation and correctives and things, and I'm just like, you're crazy, skinning's where it's at. That's the way to go. I need to do like a poll, that'd be the way. Figure it out once and for all. Actually, before I do the rest of this, I'm going to grab more tea. One thing about having a smaller mug is my tea goes down a lot faster. So I'll pop on the BR back screen, I'll run an ad break, and I'll be back in 2 jiffies.
Slow down, sir. You're going to give yourself skin failure.
And we're back. Oh, Riaz, welcome, buddy. Thank you very much for the resubscription. 11 months. God damn, man. Thank you so much for supporting the entire time. That's kind of shocking to me as well. It's been 11 months that I've actually been... I mean, yeah, when did I get, like... Hell, that must have been like a year ago now, then. I guess May or whatever? Is that when I, like, started streaming once I had affiliate or something? I did some, like, random streams before I was back in WA in April of last year, I think, so... Damn. Thank you for all good times and knowledge on the streams. Much appreciated. Thank you for dropping by so often and supporting the stream, my friend. How's your stuff going? How's the scripting going? Actually, you know what? For your... Because you're here, we can do... There you go. It's your song. Alright, let's get this last module updated. How do we want to do this? And Update last chain module to be influenced by last tip. Build tip modules. Actually, I'm gonna have to do the control in there as well. Doing well. Finished with the FK legs over the weekend and started working on spine stuff. Spine stuff's always fun. How are you gonna approach it? Are you gonna do like a curve thing? Are you gonna do spline IK, stuff like that? Been a bit busy at work over the past few weeks. Man, I can totally relate to you on that. I am definitely not unhappy about being busy at work and earning money, but I'm getting tired. I need some time off. Yeah, it's been like, when did everything start? Like, it was like start of February or something, and it's getting towards like the end of March, isn't it? Yeah, geez, 2 weeks left of March. No, it is nearly the end of April, guys. Halfway through April, not March. It's like 3 months. For now, I'll do a simple flex chain kind of setup and then add different options afterwards. Cool, like aims? Are you going to use like aim constraints or even just keep it like simple FK kind of stuff? Those Simpsons mugs won't buy themselves. Yeah, damn right. I need to keep the collection going.
Hush, field trip boy.
So wait, what do I want to do? I want this to be the parent space. So I want to update chain manipulator modules. I want it to be the last module. I want the... Wait, how do I want to do this? Parent space transform? Or do I need to define it again? Actually, I probably need to define it again and then rebuild. Is that the way to go? Because is that gonna... How do we want to do this? Because we don't have that defined. We just do the parent space transform, that's not going to update. That's going to be the best way to do this. At least just assassinated him. Yeah, we're old school with twist and stretch CBs and aims. But damn, scripting has been so great. Now I can just update modules instead of remembering how to make things. See, that's the thing. You just sort of, you make it once, and then if you ever need to change an aspect about it, you just go into your script, remember sort of like vaguely how you did it, which is what I'm doing now. And it makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, I had a student reach out and was asking me a bunch of questions the other night, just like, I guess it's the thing, it's like, oh, is scripting necessary? And it's always a thing, it's like, oh, you know, it's not, is scripting necessary to like, get into rigging when you're like new to rigging things? And it's always a thing, it's like, well, it's not necessary, but it certainly helps a lot. But it is overwhelming, so you gotta give yourself enough time to sort of, to saturate yourself in it, to let yourself marinate in all the scripting goodness. Oh, Is that bone guy from Undertale? The sound effect I just heard. I kind of wish I was taught how to script rigs instead of doing it manually. Like Steven, manual rigging is still very, very important. Just understanding connections, knowing how to thread things together, how to chain things together, connect things together. I'll always manually rig everything before I set it up in scripts, just because you want to make sure it actually works first. You just tend to do it in more of like a smaller, like, I guess, like a smaller proof of work kind of way, and then like once you're like, okay, this test works, I'm pretty sure I can script it out, and then, test it more thoroughly. Actually, very happy that I made them manually before. Now I just do it manual and then script it out. Yeah, exactly. Like Rihad's, yeah, he knows what's up. I think I have to define. Either specify the tip name earlier, which I don't really want to, or I recreate this. Alright, I'm getting back to work. It was nice catching up. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, Rihaz, for dropping by, buddy. Wish you a good day at work. Don't work too hard. Hope all the work gets out of the way for you nice and quick. Gonna have to commit self-chain manipulator dictionaries for tip control to unless we do it, well, actually, no, it makes sense because we're all parenting them here. That makes sense, actually, yeah. I can understand the benefit of doing manually, but would have been nice to learn Python. It's like learning to sculpt in ZBrush. To learn to sculpt in the program, I wish I'd learned to sculpt traditionally first. Yeah, there's like, have you checked out the resources? Stephen, like the Chris Zerberg stuff, the Dhruv Govil one that I always recommend. Like, they are really good for learning Python and stuff. I think, yeah, there's Dhruv's got a Mel one as well, which I think that's the one Rihad's has been using. So, like, I'm not really sure which one I'd recommend learning first, Mel or Python. Like, it's honestly probably good to learn Mel first, just because it allows you a bit more direct control over everything in Maya first, just because, like, it's, okay, easy. You just do something, it comes up in your script editor, you copy, paste it, and you're good to go. Whereas if you want to use Python, you sort of have to learn the Pythonic way of doing everything, like lists and dictionaries and everything like that. And Dhruv's course is really good for learning that stuff. But it may be beneficial as well to sort of have like a base level of like coding knowledge in Maya as well. And tabs. Camp House, welcome to the chat. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I would say, like, well, both simultaneously. Nah, you probably want to focus on one or the other. Like, I learned Mel first. I dropped Python because of its identing. You dropped it, as in you don't use it anymore. Hold on, we'll specify needed for tip control to redefine last parent. I started coding with Python and moved to Lua. Interesting. I know absolutely nothing about Lua, I must say. I probably know barely anything about Python, honestly. I know, like, Python, people generally say Python's good because it's, like, a clean, sort of simple thing, but it's, like, it's sort of the punching bag of the coding world, right? But, like, look at this code. Isn't it nice? Doesn't it look nice? I hope. I hope my code looks nice. So, let's do these. Where's the dictionary? That's one I want. Okay, so with this, I can go now. I use it as a learning platform on Love 2D. A pie game like. Did you find the stream through Twitch, Camp House? Generally, because this is like my streams generally are about like Maya rigging and things like that. Yeah, I thought as much. Generally, people come through like my Twitter and things. So as soon as somebody's like talking about things outside of like Maya rigging, I'm like, oh, somebody's found the stream through another means, which is really good. But welcome. Yeah, if you don't know like what's going on is we're building a character rig in Maya, a very simple sort of like squishy, simple, squirrely kind of thing. So right now I'm scripting out basically the whole process in Maya. You have a bunch of commands to automate everything, so I'm basically building a way to automate the building of this rig in the simplest of sense. I guess that's a way of just describing what's going on. So just trying to define a few things and slot something into one of the modules I've made just to add some additional control functionality in here. So we want to go chain dictionaries. I want this to be the last one, and we want it to be, what is it? Parent space transform? And we want that to now be self-chain, oops. Chain manipulator, no, we want tip. Tip manipulator transform, and then we can redefine this one. Can the chain be empty? In this case, we don't really want it to be. The chain in this case is like a chain of controls that we use to control the character. So it's less of like a chain in a sense, like a coding sense, but it's more like a sequence of things which sort of have hierarchical dependency on each other. So you can select the first one, the next one in the chain inherits the transforms, yeah, etc., etc. So if the chain was empty, not really much point in using it, you know. Think of edge cases coming from C. Yeah, I mean, like, I think the way Maya's commands work, because I've done a tiny bit of Maya API stuff, which you can do through like Python as well in Maya, or you can script it up in C++. And I know you have to define things a lot more specifically in that. Like Mel is actually kind of like that in a way, where you have to define like, this is a string, this is a list or whatever. Yeah, but like I'm so used to the sort of Pythonic way of doing things. When I swap over, I always have to like jog my memory with that kind of stuff. God, what am I doing? So that's been redefined, so we can now make the module. played this one already.
Why am I not failing more? Because your moves are weak. Because your moves are weak.
Is that gonna be... Yes. That's the module, and then... Oh boy. Self-chain. Manipulator modules. I think, can that just replace? Or does that not work that way? Yes, it does. Okay, cool. I think that will work. So we're saying for the last dictionary, we want the parent transform to now be the last tip manipulator. Then we update the manipulator module and overwrite that. Oh god, come on mouse. So I think I've got a test error in there. Let's see if this runs. No object matches name. Does it not? Where are you building? Oh yeah, shite. Yeah, because I'm building the tips after. Maybe I do want to constrain it in here then. I might have gone all through that for no reason. Let's do this a little bit more def. If I is greater than 0, parent equal that. But if I equals be the length of the descriptor strings. Take one. No, wrong side of that. Hold on. Let's do this a bit better. If self number of tip controls, first of all. Then if descriptor string equals self descriptor strings 1, then parent, let's make that nothing, and then we update that. If tip controls don't parent the last manipulator. Save that for the tip modules. That makes more sense, I think. Are you going to update, my friend? Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you. Heavy machine gun. Alright, let's get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. And get rid of them. So let's make sure that all goes through. Cool, that's good. And now the only thing we need to worry about oh damn it, that's the so this last one. Oh no, that's okay, it's constrained to the world, that's okay. Now it's constrained to the previous one. Paint dictionary. And space constraint. Let's see what these. So, do I want that to be? Yeah, we can do that. The source, so the module. Specify the last module. Manipulator transform. We can do that to the chain. Manipulator modules. Last one, manipulator space. Maintain offset. That's called that previous. And we don't want it to be, we want it to be translate and rotate. So I think that should work now. I'm just redoing this constraint at a later point in time. Cool, that's good. Hey Amish, welcome, welcome. How are you? Hopefully not too tired. Where are you? So this should now. Oh no, it's the motion path. Oh. So this should now. Yes, cool. And that's the tip. So if I hide the curves, we should now have these additional ones driving that last one. Yeah, cool. A little bit hard to see. Let me pop those up. Transform, 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 transform. Translates that. Cool, 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 cool. It's currently 5:42 a.m. for me. It's an early start. That is an early start. But it sounds like you may have gotten some sleep prior, hopefully. That would be good if that was the case. Do you have classes today? Create lost chain module constraint limited in 3 hours of sleep. You're running on fumes, dude. Chug some Red Bulls. Big can. Oh, they go down a treat right about now, I gotta say. Yeah, I have classes today. It's my last week of classes until break. Oh, cool. So you'll have a little, like a week off? Or is it like the big break in between semesters? So with that, now we need to define the controls. That's the all tip control modules. Must be that. Did I not specify them in here? Am I specifying them outside? Okay, I'm specifying them under here. Okay, I can do that. Yeah, I really did this module a while ago. This is not how I would write this stuff at the moment. But it works, so I am not complaining too much. So I'm gonna do that. As always, as I always say, I'll sleep when I'm dead in Minecraft. Umash, welcome my friend. How you doing? How you doing? So if that, do I need to do? Oh yeah, I need to specify. Down with fever. That's no good. But do you get a little bit of time off work? Sick leave. Got to use that shit, man. Is it COVID or something else? Like, I mean, now that everyone's out and about again, like all the other things are coming back, you know, gastro and flus and whatnot. Actually, I swear, like, gastro is going around more with my friends and that than COVID is at the moment. Gastro sucks as well. I mean, they all suck. Gastro just kind of limits you to the bathroom for a while. Viral fever. Yeah. I guess, yeah, COVID can be a lot more devastating. So that's the control module, and we want this to be the tip manipulator modules. Oh man, do I have to specify those? I think this is... How big do we want this control scale to be? That's half. I probably want these to be about half. Let's see how this goes. And we want them to be pins. Yeah, I've been through it last year when we were asked to be at the office. Fuck going back into the office, man. God, I hate when companies make people do that these days. Especially when it's like, yeah, all this shit's still out there. At least have the option, you know, for personal safety and health. Got the full build. Alright, let's try out the controls now. Tip controls for module in self all tip control modules module build. Let's see how this goes. Can't split. Why can I not split? Probably not specifying the right thing. Ah, yeah. Transform. Not the module. Yoo-hoo! Okay, so they're in there. So the isolated control, which I probably need to define better, that moves independently. But we can move that one, those ones, subsequent ones move. Subsequent moves, and that one moves with it. Tell you what, we want these to be secondary. So... do I not have the... I want this to be parent, and self all layer. Hold on. Oh, because this is the layer. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I was going to say. You go into secondary hierarchy. And that means yellow color tone is going to be light. In fact, we probably don't want these to be that small. Let's go 75, 75, 75. Oh, I'm getting through tea nice and quick tonight. I'm gonna need another batch. There we go. Cool. So reference curves, build, manipulator, reference transforms. We want to delete those now. If self tip control modules, commands still delete, and we want to delete all of the tip reference transforms. And I don't think we need to do anything else. I think this should all be good. Hamana. Where did I put the test error? Let's get rid of that. That's the tip. Let's see if this builds all the way through. Cool. That seems to have worked. So, the reason we were doing that, let's see if this actually works now, is we sort of want these additional controls so we can get a little bit more finite control. In fact, what we might need is a stretch blend to be on. Is that going to make it better? Is this even going to work? It sort of does. Goes up, that goes up. Maybe it does need additional points. Yeah, actually the fidelity of the curve at the end might not be enough. get the sort of like curvature we want. Interesting. We definitely want like an ISO control on that as well. Oh man, I need more tea. Okay, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and add, so right now, only the main controls that we created before have a CV point that they get snapped to. I think we may need to add additional CV points for these end ones as well. I think that may mess up the tangency a bit, but I guess we can see, we can take a look and see what the damage is. Or am I just being... Actually, I might need ISO controls for these. I'm gonna pull it around. Maybe I don't. Alright, tea first. Then we'll come back and we'll address that. I'll pop on the Be Right Back screen and I'll be back in 2 minutes. And we're back. Because what we want here, nice curve, nice, very well defined curve at the end. And I'm wondering if we can get that just from these points alone. Is it that one? Point there, point there. Zero that all out.
Slow down, sir. You're going
Jesse,
to give
welcome,
yourself
my
skin
friend.
failure.
Thank you very much for the resubscribe, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Ooh, you get the double bones now. Thanks for joining, Marin. Hope your skinning goes well. Have a good day. Have a good week. Yeah. I think we may actually want... I think this might be where like the Bezier curve kind of comes in handy, is when like you're not just sort of like vaguely positioning, you're sort of like much more precisely defining where the curve is. Okay, might try adding in some more CV, see what goes on. Doing well, how are you? I am doing fairly well. Just gotten through a batch of work. Don't know exactly when the next batch may come. It may come tomorrow, it may come in a few days, not too sure. So I might be able to sleep tomorrow. Who knows? Get some chores done or something. I find that always the thing that like gets brushed to the wayside when you're busy, you know? Sleeping is nice. Getting chores done is oh so nice, yeah. Mish, gotta listen to that. Jesse says sleep is good. Yeah, okay, let's do this. Build-driven curve. So this is going to be if self tip controls, if number of tip controls. Oh, how do you insert a list into a list at a certain point? Oh, I can't remember the Python how to do that. This just can't be asked. I think I'm just going to do this for now. Chain isolated, manipulator modules, and then here we go. Self tip control, manipulator modules. So I've got to do that, yep. Ah, but they don't have ups, but I can add those, can't I? Actually, did I specify the ups already? I may have. Do up transform, yes, cool, okay, that will work. Maybe sleeping is all the friends we made along the way. That sentence makes no sense. I'm going to sleep. Later, Rob and chat. Have a good one. Thank you very much for joining, Stephen, my friend. I wish you a good slumber. I am definitely going to sleep myself very, very soon. Seems like a good idea. Yes, okay. So this is the inherent problem with this method. Where now the tangency on the tip is much more specifically defined compared to the rest of the tail. I mean, it does give us, yeah, here we go. Yeah, it was that. Much, much, much more control. But it means the curve tangency is less freeform in that area. Yeah, it goes from like more flowy into harsh, which you can fix by moving these around a bit, I guess. Welcome, Sam. How you doing, buddy? we're looking at additional tail controls tonight. And if they are actually worth it. I mean, what happens if I turn off the stretch? Oh, yeah, okay, well. Maybe we don't need this many of them then. How about if we do 2 instead? Where am I specifying this? Well, actually, I tell you what. With the tail, we don't need the tail curve layer. Let's go to the actual tail module. So specifying a number of tip controls here. If we set that to none, let's make sure that actually builds without those being added in. None type cannot be interpreted as an integer. Where have I accidentally specified it wrong? 1837. Aha, that would be it. Wait, am I? No, this song I don't. Okay, yeah, we don't have to. So let's go self-tip, reference transforms. Let's do that, and then if number. So hopefully that means wait, why build manipulator reference transforms? Oh yeah, that's out of the scope. That would be why. Come on, go through. Brilliant. So if we look at the secondary control LOD, yep, those tips are now gone. So we got a much more general end. And having that general curve is so nice though. Okay. Want this to be number of tip controls. Let's do that 2 instead of 3. Let's see if that gives us a little bit more general. Still similar, but yeah, it does give us set the stretch on. I wonder about the Bezier curves in this case. How does this go each time? You drag it out. Drag that, drag that, drag that. And how does that go? From the start. Where did Bezier curves come into? Bezier curves? When did they come in? 2011? Really? No way they've been in there that long. Interesting. There's a lot of benefit to using. I'm wondering if I like these better. It's like, how quick could you create like an appealing curve shape? Lucas, welcome, welcome, buddy. Cause like, using this theoretically, you could get. Ooh. Is anybody? What kind of rigs are out there? Has anyone ever used like a rig with this kind of like curve setup where it's like fewer controls, but you've got more like specific tangency control? Because like how does the Bezier curve work? It's a different shape. Had this problem with my squirrel a while back. Yeah, it's like, the question is how much control. Like, I'm not sure. Well, the question is going to be how much control, and is this going to be heavier than a standard setup? Now, I'm pretty sure this whole setup can still be used. Like, this curve can still be driven by control points, right? Yes. Definitely has more. Is it just like another thing where it's points in space? Let's do this. Okay, so screw Mr. Squirrel for the time being. We're going to do some testing, folks. Robbie doesn't know what he's doing, so we're going to do some testing. Because I feel like this Bezier curve thing is something I've wanted to do. It's like what I want in my rigs. I've just never like explored it. So we're going to try and just create a little simple point setup. Which even this, if my calculations are correct, like this, you could create like a pretty appealing shape for a tail, like with this. But at the same time, like, is that going to be enough for like a simple sort of like FK chain? Like, it's too few joints, so you may want to add more in, but then it's more like to worry about, maybe? I don't know. Something I need to test. Anyway, so if I got this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 control points. Is that what it's going to be? Let's take a look. Yes, it does have 7. So from 0 to 6, that's 7. So how do we want to do this? Because it'll be basically recreating the same sort of setup. I need something for a curve. 3, 4. Well, actually, technically. Welcome, cat. We're looking at wonderful curves.
Well, this calls for a celebration.
Celebrate good times come. I will. Mr. President, somebody finally bought a copy of your Bookshare. I like a rig with curves, okay? So this setup should accurately sort of like recreate what's going on with the Bezier curve, but using transforms to do it instead. So all we need to do is map all of these in the node editor. Oh boy. Come on. Come on, node editor. I know you can do it, buddy. As soon as I organize these as well, I'm going to add something else and it's going to completely mess it up. Alright. Don't do it, don't do it. Okay. Alright, there we go. No. This is the boring part, where I gotta hook all this shite up. Do I have what position? Oh, okay, I can just do it this way, easy. Okay, what position? Going through one by one. Oh boy, come on. Hey, Overgrown Carrot, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome, welcome, folks. Not sure where you guys are coming from. But thank you very much for dropping by. I am Robbie. I do a bunch of rigs in Maya. If you like that kind of stuff, or if you find it the most boring thing ever, maybe you'll consider hate watching. Coming from failing at a Linux buffer overflow. Overgrown Carrot, that sounds very nerdy, I'll say the least, right? Linux. Ooh, Linux. God.
Just to boo us.
It was something. Right now, we're doing something a little, probably a bit more rudimentary, where I'm trying to get a good control system for a bunch of curves. We're talking about how I like characters, rigging characters with curves, which is technically what we're doing right now. Thank you very much for the follows, guys, as well. I appreciate it. Then let's GO. So what I'm Matt Da9 or Matt Da9, Matt DA9. I'm trying to find a Matt. There we go. That's easy enough to do. I'm trying to find a good solution for controlling a tail. I want to give animators like a very not like overly complicated setup, but a setup that allows for a lot of depth if they need it. In fact, right now I'm kind of doing a test with a Bezier curve, which Maya allows us to build. And through a bit of connections in the node editor, we're basically driving it with a bunch of transforms as opposed to like needing to go through and manipulate the components manually, sort of thing. So in turn, like if we were to build this into a rig, drop that 0 and get with the hero. So if we were to like give this to animators rather than giving them a transform or whatever, you know, we'd want to put like a control system on top. Doing something similar right now, but for tentacles. Ooh, see, like tentacles, tails. This is good. Yeah, this is good for like that kind of stuff, as well as like tongues. Strangely enough, as well. I'm not sure if I got a tongue rig I can show off at somewhere. But right now the problem is if I build my character. So this is like all scripted up. This is what I do with my time. I've got a Python library full of scripts that I use to build characters. Basically, like what Maya allows you to do is like go through commands, execute commands in order, which allows you to build more complex, comprehensive characters. And based on that, I can just run that code, and it's automatically pulled in all the stuff for this character I need. So it's a little weird squirrely dude that we're currently working on. So I've got this tail system right now. So you can see we've got these big selectable kind of things, which we call controls. This is what the animators see. So this gives them some amount of control on what the character's, how it's going to deform, how it's going to move around. It's called like digital puppet, you know, is probably like the easiest way to sort of describe it. You know, if you've ever seen like a marionette or like those old school, what do you call them? Stop motion, like armatures and things like that, where people have to like pull things around, take a photo, pull them around, take a photo. It's kind of like that, but in a digital sense. So we're giving animators basically a bunch of controls to control these things like it would be a traditional armature puppet. So we want to give them like, we want to keep it simple enough that it doesn't like overwhelm them, but we also want to have enough depth in there that they can actually hit certain poses. So right now the issue that I'm running into is I want like a really nice end to the tail, like a really nice curly sort of curvature to it. I want to give animators a good way of doing that, but I'm not sure if that's entirely possible with the system I'm using, where I've got like a bunch of controls in here, sort of like sub controls where we can kind of like do some things, but I think it's too specific and not general enough. Yeah. What is the reasoning behind the parent locators into another locator shape? So that before Lucas was, it's kind of replicating what's going on with the Bezier. The Bezier. I keep calling it Bezier. It's like people who say Euler filter instead of Euler filter. I'm probably going to get someone smack me in the face for saying it the wrong way. Bezier. So let's do this. We pull it out. Pull that. Pull that. Don't pull it out, folks. Only pull out these Bezier curve CVs. So Lucas, if you think of it like this, so we have this central control point for this tangent, what do you call it, tangency curve or tangency point or whatever on the curve. So when you move this middle one around, it also moves that one and that one. So if you replicate the same kind of structure using transforms, using locators, it'll be the same thing. Like you have a locator in the middle, you have a locator on the outside and on the other side, and you just have them parented underneath that one. And then you can do similar things, like if you scale this down, if you rotate it around, it's going to have a similar effect. Do you write the Python scripts, or does your employer usually give it to you as some point of onboarding? So if you work at a big company, Cat, generally they'll have their own pipeline and scripts ready to go, hopefully, that you have to like learn and adapt to. But in the case, because I'm like freelance, this is all stuff I built myself. And because I built it myself, it's sort of like the way I like to do things. Like a lot of the problems you encounter with companies is they'll have a very particular way of doing things. And sometimes if the company is very, very old, you know, like has been around for a few decades, there's a lot of like technical debt. And technical debt is when like, because the code has been around for so long and, you know, maybe people have moved on, like, people don't know how to use it or don't want to mess with a system because it's like, oh, it's worked this long and we don't have enough time to really test, like, doing another one on top of it kind of thing. Then slowly over time, the code doesn't really progress as much as you'd like it to. So, like, there's like pros and cons. Like, the nice thing about working at a big studio is you'll sort of like get given a huge library of really cool code that you can just kind of explore and figure out how to use it. But in the case now, like, I've sort of built up my own library that does that kind of stuff. So it's less appealing to me these days because it's like, okay, I've got a very specific way I like to work. I can choose how I want to work. If I don't like a certain way I'm doing things, I can change it. Whereas if you work at a big studio and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't like this method, can we try this one? Then there's going to be like 5 layers of bureaucracy where you can't do it because, you know, somebody else coded it before, or like now nobody knows how to recode it or doesn't want to mess around with the code, or they coded it themselves and they're like, you want to change my system? What's wrong with my system? Kind of thing. So yeah, the benefits of working alone in a way. Even in big studios, not every rigger knows how to code, so they end up using really old code that no one knows anymore. Yeah, like Lynx, yes. Is sort of, yeah, like what they're talking about is like, what's the best way? What's the best way to sort of like say it in a nice way? It's like superstition. I think superstition is like the word I'm trying to think of, like where you'll ask somebody coming in, it's like, oh, why do we do it this way? And people will just be like, I don't really know, but we just do it because one time it didn't work for me, so I do it this way, so you just got to do it as well. Like, yeah, if people don't really have a super familiarity with the code, but kind of know how it works, but haven't had the time to like go in and actually explore it line by line and be like, oh, it's a lot of like faith in a way. It's just like, oh, you know, I know how a human leg generally is rigged, so I'm assuming the one I'm working with is working in a similar way. I've used like a free auto rigger that's out online called Advanced Skeleton a few times, and like it's not necessarily bad. It's a perfectly fine system to use, but because it's like a system that already exists, and I can't really like go into it and edit it as much as I want, like it's less useful to me. And it works in the same system. Like if a client says, Robbie, we'd like you to use Advanced Skeleton instead of your own one for whatever reason, we're used to it or whatnot, that's fine. But then it's like, okay, I'm going to assume certain things work in the rig, but I don't know 100% if that's how they work. If they're like, oh, can you add a human arm with IK stretch or whatever? I'm like, I think I can, but I'd have to go into the UI or the code a bit more to figure that out. And if they want me to do something custom to that, to change it in a certain way, then it's like, well, I'm guessing it's going to work in this way. I don't know 100%. So you always have to sort of like give a bunch of caveats to it. Had to learn how to create M-Gear components as a junior, since none of the seniors knew how it worked. M-Gear is M-Gear quite self-explanatory, Links? That's Miguel Camposeis. What's his full name? Hold on, I'll spruik M-Gear in the chat. Started by Jeremy. Oh, it's started by Jeremy Passerin. Ah. And continued by Miguel Campos. Yeah, that's right. I did not know that. Yeah, so M-Gear is sort of like a rigging framework that's out there online as well, which is very, very good and very, very popular. So would recommend if people are looking for sort of like a thing to build stuff from. It's very good. There's a big lack of documentation, so there's a lot of self-figuring out by looking at other components. Yeah, the nice thing about it is it's like been around for so long and it's used by so many people, there's normally a solution to those things. Like I haven't really used M-Gear a lot personally, just because I'm trying to like, I don't want to like steal ideas from it accidentally. I want to try and do things in as much of a vacuum as I can. But that's not to say it's not good. Like it definitely is good, and I know a lot of studios swear by it. So very easy to use. Did a rig using that M-Gear. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's like it's definitely one of the. I think it's like M-Gear, Advanced Skeleton, Red 9 and stuff out there. They're the ones that are quite popular. I think there's stuff like there's Hive, Zoo Tools. I think that's with Zoo Tools or whatever. Yeah, there's a few like rigging frameworks, or like if people call them auto riggers and things like that out there as well. But yeah, the reason I've sort of like built my own is because at the same time, like I want to know what goes into building these components. So like I was kind of saying before, there's a way of like, you sort of like assume like, oh, okay, say Advanced Skeleton has a tail rig. There's gonna be some assumptions that I make that how it functions, how it's made. But when I'm building my own system, I have to go in there and actually learn how these things work. So if at any point in time someone's like, Robbie, can you do a bespoke sort of tail system? Rather than saying like, I'm pretty sure I can, but I've never really like done it, but I've worked with them before, so I'm pretty sure I can recreate it. I can be like, yeah, actually in my library somewhere, I've got something. Even if I can't remember how to do it, I just like open up my library, refresh my memory, and then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's a lot more, it allows you to sort of like do a lot more custom stuff just because you have that more inherent familiarity with things. I had to fight with my company not to remove end gear because they didn't understand we can make custom components. No rigger knew how. Oh, wow. Yeah, like, yeah, there's benefits to M gear, but when people are sort of set in their ways, it's hard to pull them out of it sometimes as well. Rapid Rig is also pretty popular. Who makes Rapid Rig, Jesse? That's not a Blender one, is it? Well, no, what's Blender's one? Is that Riggerly or something? Oh man, yeah, these names are escaping me. But anyway, like, yeah. So right now I'm trying to figure out, like, what's a good solution for controlling this tail. Rigify, that's it. Thank you very much, Links. Because, like, would it be... The problem with... of course, I like got rid of my other scene file, didn't I, where I was putting all this together. Because I want to sort of like test an FK hierarchy to this as well. Rigify, Cloud Rig, Auto Rig Pro. I'm pretty, yeah, I think, is there an Auto Rig Pro in Maya as well? There might be variations. I'm pretty sure M Gear, I'm pretty sure Miguel's doing a Unreal-esque version of it as well. I think he's hiring for that at the moment. So everybody's trying to like put him into different things. Yeah. Not sure who does Rapid Rig. I only heard of other people using it. Okay. Oh, I am low on tea again. All right, we might do some more testing in just a second. I'm just going to do one final round of tea. So I'm just going to pop over quickly to the Be Right Back screen, run a quick ad break. I'll be back in 2 minutes, folks.
Okay, Millhouse, you know the drill. Right! You go over and wow them. I hide in the shrubs. Why would they come to our concert just to boo us? And we are back. The nice thing about like this simplified tail setup, right, is
because the curve is fairly general, interpolation between stuff is a lot, like, nicer. I'm wondering then, because the interpolation with the Bezier curve is a bit more specific, that the interpolation may not be as nice. Like, just generally. But, not sure. Ever used Vitala? I have not, Lynx. What is Vitala? Let's set this up again. Let's go start, and this will be start and tangent. It'll be mid, start, tangent, and tangent. It's like an auto rigger, but you have to script every step. There's nothing included, kind of like a script manager. Auto rigger, but you have to script every step. I guess that's kind of like what I do in a way. I mean, there are some times where I'll like manually rig sort of like a scene file and then just import that in and bolt that onto my rig. But most of the stuff I do is like is script based because I want to like script every aspect. So if I ever need to rebuild any aspect of it, it's all like there, the press of a button. That does take a long time to sort of do. But, like, it does save a lot of time in the future. Like, this is something I've encountered working at, like, bigger studios on more, like, I guess what you call them, like, AAA film characters or whatever. Like, you always think it's like, oh, I'm only going to rig this once. I'm never going to have to redo this aspect of the character. And then, inevitably, some point in production, something happens where you do need to redo that. And, you either got to rejig the scene file manually or whatever. But if you've got it all scripted up, like, then you just press a button or maybe update one file or a few transforms or something like that, and it's way easier. Yeah, I've had arguments with other riggers about that. I'd say, like, I've had polite disagreements with riggers about what aspects of the rig you should script up. Some people are like, yeah, animation rig aspect, you know, the control part and everything, definitely script that up. But the deformation side of things, you know, if you're adding in, like, muscles and additional things like that, like, yeah, I don't script that up. It takes too long. And I'm like, no, you want to script all of that. That's the important stuff as well. No half measures. I mean, I say that. I'm the king of half measures. I'm the king of brute force, and that's a future Robbie problem. Script it once, less pain later. Yeah, pain now. I don't need pain later. Live in the moment. Alright, we got all of these bad boys. And let's get the Bezzy.
Words of wisdom.
Drop that zero,
and
get with the hero. Alright, let's actually organize these. Start. Mid. Where's mid start? And end. And tangent. Lovely. Alright, with that, let's plug these in. Once again, I should have just saved the other scene file. I was like, I won't come back to that, but lo and behold, I did. The joys of noodling. Noodly hee hoo. You can probably see in the background that the curve is slowly snapping to each of these points. That is what we want. I've missed one, haven't I? Yes, I have. Damn it. Cute. Boom. I think I've got one around the wrong way. Damn it, Larry? Yeah, damn it, Larry. Ah, damn it, Larry. Alright, let's do a quick test of like, okay, how good does like FK work in this? Yeah. I guess FK is less important though with this, because you can still, don't need to necessarily do rotation. But like if I wanted to curl everything, See, this is the thing that happens, guys. I'm like, I'll build a bunch of simple rigs. I'll get them out real fast. And then something inevitably happens in that process that makes me rethink everything that I've done. And I'm like, is this really worth giving out to the world? Am I really happy with this the way it is just yet? It's like, oh, it's a character with a body and a tail. How hard can that be? And then all of a sudden I'm like, this one aspect, I don't like it. Let's go into a bunch of additional detail and figure out how we can make it look better. Ugh. Because like if you call that... This is also going to be like animator preference in a way as well. Like some animators might really prefer having a very like, yeah, sort of like the squirrel tail that we've already got where it's like more general. Like, okay, it's a vague placement. Like if I pull this control around, like the curve isn't going to hit this point exactly. It's kind of like a general area, so I can use that as a gauge. So like I pull it further out, it like goes further away and things like that. Some animators may prefer that, while others may prefer like very specific kind of control. Sounds like every rig I've made. Spending 6 hours adding IK to character tail because it doesn't feel... Yeah, exactly. Well, even like going back to the problem I was having before. Like, okay, well, we want to scale. Well, let's get that out of there. Let's get that out of there, back into the main. So, like, world space. It's like, okay, you want a character's tail to sort of curl? Because you could do it with this and the tangency of these points. But, like, if you wanted the character's tail to sort of, like, curl through controls... less easier. Because this is now like the end. What if we treated this like, okay, it's down here. Because it's like you almost want this to be. Actually, yeah, maybe that's what I'm doing. Like, rather than that, so I have the end driven by this one instead. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, actually, that's kind of delightfully devilish, Seymour. Oh, delightfully devilish, Seymour. If I just, like, fucking take every single one out and just rearrange it in an FK chain, rather than having, like... So what I'm doing with this setup, with all of these ones here, is like, okay, I'm recreating the sort of tangency setup. But if I just have, like, point, standard FK, then there's also potential for that sort of, like, mode to be driving everything as well. Hold on, where's your music gone? Where is your music gone? That one, yes. Yeah, because that could still work, like... That, put that into that. Going up the chain. Interesting. I wonder if it'd be like a switch or something. Oh, that is breaking the... That is something to be aware of. Is that how they always go? I guess, yeah. I mean, yeah, because that's the tendency is no longer... You have two curves running down. So what's the alternative? Because we want like a simple tangency, but we also want that control at the end. My meeting where I get told 3 words every week is soon. Oh.
Don't you know the poem? Water, water everywhere, so let's all have a drink.
My little channel points icon. Yeah, there is. It's just standard. Was that just a standard transform? Yeah. Woohoo! Boom. Welcome, Chloe, as well. Could be like a rebuild. Ooh. I'm probably only going to be on for about 10 more minutes, folks. Then it's going to be midnight, and I need to get my beauty sleep. Yeah, we're probably not going to get anywhere solid on the tail question tonight. As I still want to test a bunch of things out. That's the thing, I'll be like, quick update to my tail rig. Just need to add a few things to the end, that'll be it. Nope. Never how it goes. So what if we zero all those out? Where does this go? Yeah, as soon as there's like... That doesn't really work. I'm probably thinking about this wrong, as in those tangencies don't need to be out, rather under the start. The mid as well. That one at the mid. And guess that end one could be there. That's probably fine, maybe. Is that just happening because I'm doing something stupid? Yeah, because there's no compensation on the other side, right? So these we want to limit. We don't want them to be like translatable around. We just want them to be in and out, basically. Ooh. See, it's like, it's really nice to just like kind of pose quickly and get some nice shapes, but I'm wondering about animating it. You sort of have it bouncing around and it sort of does some stuff. I wonder if it might be preferable, honestly. That one can be like moved around a bit more. Same with the end ones. It's always going to be just these ones with the two on each side that they need to be like put together. Food for thought. Beeps. Food for thought. In it. Anybody got any questions or anything? Stuff they'd like me to cover before I head off for the night? Doesn't have to be tail related. Can be anything. Not sure who's around at the moment, but if there's anybody like keen on picking up some rigging knowledge or learning something a bit different. What is my favorite chocolate bar? Cherry Ripe, cat. All the way. All day, every day. Cherry everything, baby. That's how we roll. Cherry Coke and cherry pie and cherry ripe. What's your favorite type of tea? My favorite type of tea would be just green tea, honestly. It's just simple and effective. I'm not a very like adventurous tea drinker. You ever scripted using the NG Skin Tools API? I haven't actually, Lynx. That's something I've been meaning to do for a long time because when I save out my skin clusters, I use the internal Maya deformer method of saving. But at the same time, I always like manually save like an ng skin tool JSON file. I just need to like access the API so I can just save one out manually as well. Like I don't always want to load from these because, you know, keeping it free of custom nodes is going to be important for like handing it around to people who don't have ng, or like, you know, exporting out an FBX file or something like that. But yeah, it would be useful. Plus, like, NG's got that really cool, like, smoothing function that you can just, like, run on top of a skin cluster without needing to, like, access. I think you just, like, create a NG skin cluster, smooth it a few times, and then delete it. And, like, that'd be good to do through API as well. Cherry chocolate bar. Yes, Meech. That's... So in Australia, we have a... Okay, so this is kind of like sacrilegious to say this, or at least I think it is to say it anyway. But like Bounty, do Bounty chocolate bars exist in Canada? I know they exist in the UK because I bought a bunch of cherry ripes over to the UK when I lived in London, so people could get like a taste of Australian food. And my friends were like, "Oh, this is like a Bounty bar with a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of cherry in it." I was like, "Don't you fucking dare!" Okay, well. For lack of a better description, it's like a Bounty bar with cherries in it. But way better, a million times better. Do you think the bevel curve could be better than just the regular NURBS for a spine as well? Potentially, Lucas. Like... it might be a bit overkill for a spine. I think it might depend on how complicated the spine needs to be, because like spines generally don't actually curve all that much. The curvature is very like, it's simplified or generalized, I'd say. Whereas in something like this with the like the aesthetic of like a squirrel tail, right? Where you sort of want these like nice kind of warpy, bendy curvatures and everything. I think it's more suitable in like this context. I could potentially see how it could work. What is it like? What's that type of curve? Hermite curve that everybody likes? I know they're like, people rave about those, but I don't know if Maya's got like a native one. They always seem to be made through like custom deformers and things, or like Bifrost. Yeah. I saved hours and hours by making some custom importer and exporter for NG files. I include custom data in the JSON file. Yeah, I need to do something like that as well. The reason I use like the standard Maya one is because it's just like, it's fast, but I know the NG one is fast as well. And yeah, like if I can't rely on NG skin tools for whatever reason at whatever point, it's good to sort of have that backup in there. I used to hate cherry ripe as a youngin', and then I become an old man and I like it. Yeah, it's like well, I used to fucking hate like Dr. Pepper and shit when I was younger, and now it's like my favorite drink of all time. It's got that sweet, sweet medical cherry flavor. Oh, delicioso. But then you get like, to me, like Dr. Pepper and Cherry Coke taste very similar. But then you also get like cherry Dr. Pepper in like the weird green, dark green can. Yeah, it's a hard choice if like, do I choose Cherry Coke or do I get an energy drink? Like, it's the duality of man, the hard choice that I have to make. Yeah, what do people rate as like the top soft drink out there? Or, I mean, what do people call it around the world? Soft drink, soda, pop, fizzy drink. I'm trying to be as all-inclusive as I can here. See, pop is weird to me. I've never talked to anybody calling it pop before. Tony Mate. I have never heard of a Tony Mate. El Tony Mate. That's not a thing. I am not finding it anywhere. Oh wait, El Tony Mate. Oh, freshly brewed mate tea from Argentina. There we go. Grape Crush. Oh yeah, Grape Crush. Is that from the UK? Grape Crush, is that like, oh, what was that other? There's like one in the UK that's like sort of fruity flavored as well. God, I can't remember what that one's called. They used to have it at NPC all the time, and I'd occasionally have it, and I was like, yeah, that's alright. British soft drink, hold on. Not Ribena. Oh, Iron Brew. Oh, man, I didn't say Iron Brew. Of course not. Gotta go to a meeting. See ya. Thank you very much for joining Links. Hope to see you next time. Have a good meeting. Don't work too hard. Vimto. That's what I'm thinking of. Fucking Vimto. I'm just looking up Soda now, guys. This is the end to the stream. The stream where we didn't really get anywhere with the tailwig, as per usual. But on the note of talking about delicious, delicious sodas, I'm going to end the stream there. So thank you very much to everyone who followed tonight. Thank you very much to Overgrown Carrot 1 for the raid tonight as well. Not sure if you're still around, but thank you very much for that. Everybody give them some love. Thanks to those who resubbed tonight as well. I appreciate it as always. Who was it who, Reese Comics, who subscribed for the first time tonight. I'll make sure to deputize you in our Discord. Yeah, just a reminder for everybody, check out the Discord if you haven't already. Check out the socials as well if you're not following me on those. You can find all my work and my musings on there. Oh my god, the bones is a sub badge. Yeah, if you subscribe, not only will you get access to a special channel in the Discord where I post some of my scripts and early versions of rigs and that, when I actually have the time to do so. You also get access to all our custom emotes that we've got as well. Run through all of these bad boys, so... Yeah, I think if I hit 15 subs, I get a few more emote badges, so I'm trying to hit that at some point, but, I mean... no expectation for it to happen at any point soon, or at all. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I will be streaming at a similar time next week. Until then, have a good week. Keep rigging, don't work too hard, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.